I love the passion, but we're mad because I feel like you're waving a flag or telling us why the Warriors lost.
They're at a transition.
The signs.
They're at a transition point. You're damn right.
There are signs on why this team was not connected. There are people at fault, including players, why James Wiseman is in Detroit.
No.
What do you mean, no?
And nobody's at fault. Like, who's at fault? Klay Thompson? Is like Klay Thompson at fault? Like, I don't look at it that way. They didn't have enough to get it done. Their core is extremely... their core's old for an NBA core. They're young players, most of whom weren't ready. Jordan Poole backstepped. Wiggins, who knows what's going on with him? Like, the question is this. You want to run it back?
I don't want to waste... I don't even want to... Because I'm so sick of that. I don't want to waste Steph Curry, what's left of Steph Curry.
Well, what does that mean?
There's every GM or owner in the NBA right now would probably be, who could I take? It would be Steph.
Right.
So he hasn't fallen off like the other two.
Then tell me what we're going to do. Tell me what we're going to do to next year get to the Western Conference
Everybody
Finals.
not named Stephen Curry is on the table or in the mix. And good Lord, Steiny, that's above my pay grade, but I got a list right now in front of me of all the free agents. Like, I'm not doing what the Giants did.
They don't have money for free agents. So you can you can look at that list. It's always fun, but
Steiny, like, you're gonna sit here and I'm Team Jordan Poole. He can catch you. He can fetch you something if you were to trade him.
I don't know. He's going to make $28 million next year, and he was terrible the last month or two of the season.
But see, I think he has a built-in...
You think you're getting better than a sixth man for Jordan Poole right now?
Oh, I would think so,
Why?
Steiny.
Why would you think that?
Because what he put on film from last year is still not gone away.
Would you trade for him?
All depending on who I am.
Yeah, I wouldn't give up much for Jordan Poole right now. I wouldn't. But listen, like, that's kind of my point. Because of the dynasty, they've come to a point where there's no right decisions and wrong decisions. Every decision is not perfect.
Okay, well,
you want to
Clay's going to ask for a max.
He's not okay. So you're going to give it to him?
I'm asking you, you said he's not.
But I can't even keep a straight face when you say that.
Okay, right.
So I don't know what
I would. It would be tough love, but I would be like, dude, I got a basketball team to run. If you're not worthy of that, and we paid you while you were out for 2 years, meet us halfway or below. I can't give you a max.
Okay,
that's what the Giants like.
So what are you going to get? Give him $30 million? See, that's the issue. There's one of two things that are going to happen. Let's say, let's just use Draymond and Klay. One of two things. You're either going to start to move off them, okay? At which point, you get worse. Right now, you get worse.
No doubt.
Or you're going to try to keep them in the fold for 2 or 3 more years. And you know what? They're going to get worse. They're going to continue to get worse. So there is no great move here. You either start to transition off them, bad, because right now they're still pretty darn good, or you say we want to run this thing into the ground, or we want to run it forever. Well, how are you going to? You don't have any money to surround those 3 with better players.
And Steiny, hey man, you make some great points. And again, I'm still processing what we saw against the Lakers, who, Steiny, since they made the trades, I always was afraid of the tandem of Anthony Davis and LeBron James. And the reason being, it was almost, and I'm bringing up the Sixers, I shouldn't. I just love a contrast when I got 2 stars. The big guy, then the guy that can handle the rock and get the ball, play through him. But Steph and Klay are so much the same that this team, Steiny, is so codependent on the three-pointer. And if you're telling me money is tight, Drake can opt out and you still don't get that to go spend or bring back an Amari Stoudemire or something down low, I mean, I'm about to get patches. Like, this is a big, I don't want to call it rebuild, but to stay relevant and expect Dub Nation to think this team is going to come right back, good Lord. And if Dre does stay and it's him and Looney, they need another big down low. They need another body, Steiny, because if my perimeter D is deteriorating with age, with Klay and Steph, it's imperative that I have somebody down low that on a good day can alter a shot. And that's why the pain of James Wiseman not even being an option, but just to strike out at the plate for this organization, that pain is just, it ain't even started yet. It ain't even started.
It's been a historic run. They won it last year. They got to the Western Conference semifinals this year. Steph is 35 years old. And he looks better, more toward his prime than either Draymond or Clay.
Right.
Sorry, but there's no getting around that. Like, how do you expect to be better next year when your top three players are all declining? Now, I don't want to get into the degrees to which Steph is declining. He's still as great as anybody would have ever expected him to be at 35. He's great. We know that. I don't want to get into that. So how do you get better? It's hard. It's hard. And for people to, like, here's what I would say. Draymond Green and Steve Kerr said, they both thought they maxed out this year. Yeah. And then they both said, we're not a championship team. Okay? Right?
Yeah.
So fans maybe should start looking at it as though we're not a championship team. We're one of the top 8 to 10 teams in the league. Is there any way we can get back up into, let's say, the top 4 next year? And I would say, good luck. That's going to be really hard.
Well, okay, I know what those two said, Steiny, but if you would have asked both of those, the player and coach before last year's season, which culminated in a chip, if they were a championship team, I think both would have said no. My thing is, I want the answer as to why, Draymond, this team is not a championship team. Is it because you can only tap into being what you were in Game 5?
Age.
Yeah.
How about that? That's a big part of it. Age, size, and the role players weren't as good. Those 3 things. How about that?
I mean, it has to be either or that, Steiny, but this brings me back to Kuminga, and it goes back to Moody. All of a sudden, being able to play and carve out a role in a series, but yet just be a bump on the pickle for 3 months of the season, that doesn't add up. And the reason I bring that up is if Moses Moody would have been getting consistent playing time, I'm not trying to get you mad, but it's questions, man.
I know, but that's my point. Why didn't Kuminga play? Because they were, it's not hard. Why didn't Kuminga play? Because they were going for a championship.
Why did Wiseman get traded?
Because they were going for a championship, and neither of those guys were good enough to play for a championship team. They made a mistake. Kuminga may be a good player, but you know what? He's not a championship player right now.
Yeah, and his traits and his mouthpiece don't say that because he's despondent. He's telling you the game. What he's telling you, you better give me a ring right now. Is that audacity, or do you think that's a player that knows he can play and have a niche on his team, and for whatever reason behind closed doors, he ain't getting it?
Again, I'm not saying everything was foreseeable, but there were things that were in the distance that nobody want. We saw this all last year with Wiseman, Kuminga, and Moody. They didn't play last year. Why? Because they wouldn't have won a title last year if those guys were a big part of the team. In fact, now looking back, maybe the only reason the Warriors won it last year was because they didn't put those young guys in when it mattered. So now guess what? They win it. Well, now there's only one thing to do, and that's try to repeat. Let's try to repeat. And once you say we're going to try to repeat, then you got to try to repeat. Yeah. And Wiseman, Kuminga, and Moody most of the year weren't good enough to play on this team. What happened? Why didn't he? Could he squeeze him in? The bottom line is Steve Kerr didn't think any 3 of those guys were good enough to be a rotation player for the start of the year to the finish of the year.
Okay, and I got to just go back to Kuminga, Steiny. How bad of a look is that for the Warriors and Jonathan Kuminga with that thing he had his people send out about he needs a promise or he needs a guarantee? Like, I thought that was horrible.
It's almost insignificant. I mean,
but it lets you know where his head's at.
Any young player, 20 years old.
Well, no, he's got Andre Iguodala by his side. That was another failure. Another guy that the Warriors probably thought their stuff didn't stink, and they thought they could get away giving this dude a scholarship. And you had all kind of Jerry Springer stuff going on, and Andre couldn't stop any of it. And now there's no reflection or self-analyzation from Jonathan Kuminga to say, let me shut up and go work on my game and come back and show these guys they could count on me. He comes up with hey, from my people, you better play me or else. That's bad.
888-957-9570. I see your calls. We'll jump in and get them on the other side. I'll leave you with this. Jordan Poole talked to Logan Murdoch.
Give me some positive.
He's the Ringer.
Yeah.
And he was asked about his relationship with Draymond Green. And Jordan Poole said, I don't have no answer for you. We was just on the court and teammates. It's just business, honestly. And that's really all it was. It is, and it has been. It's just been business.